There's been long-standing debates amongst the comic book community in regards to Batman. Mainly among them, how do you classify the Dark Knight? Is he a superhero or an anti-hero? A simple vigilante, or some bold enough to even suggest that he's actually the villain? There's 3 widely popular pieces of DC media that define who or what the Bat actually is, and depending on which one you think of first, that's likely your Batman. The first and most inspiring piece of DC Comics media to really define Batman is The Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller's 4-issue miniseries published from February to June 1986. It was the first time we'd see the argument of which of the two is actually wearing the mask, Batman or Bruce Wayne. It elevated the belief that comic books were only for children, to becoming a powerful tool in exploring the concepts of the human condition. It's a story of a man being dominated by fear to ascending that fear, accepting who he is, overcoming death, to then fighting a literal god on Earth.
You act like a criminal.
We are criminals, Clark. We always have been.
In this Gotham, Batman needed to take control. He needed to be powerful and sometimes ruthless. He walks the line of hero or villain, questioning that maybe sometimes going too far is not going far enough. He becomes a symbol of uncorruptible authority to be used as a weapon for the greater good, and doesn't let a tyrannical government, no matter the puppet they send after him, step in his way. This is the anti-hero vigilante Batman.
Hold on.
The second definition is the most well-known incarnation of Batman we've had to date. That being the 1989 blockbuster movie from Tim Burton starring Michael Keaton, simply put, Batman.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
This Batman radically changed the perception of the Caped Crusader portrayed in film and television. Prior to the 89 Batman, there had only been 3 other interpretations dedicated to live action. In 1943, a 15-chapter serial starring Lewis Wilson. In 1949, Batman and Robin, a 15-chapter serial starring Robert Lowry as Batman and Johnny Duncan as Robin. And then the iconic 1966 Batman television show starring Adam West.
Precisely, Robin. The only possible meaning.
Warner Brothers is spending millions to bring millionaire Bruce Wayne and his alter ego to life. Is this a gamble for the studio? Will Batman pay off? Will there be bat hysteria?
Warner Brothers and DC built such anticipation for Tim Burton's Batman that by the time it was released in theatres, audiences were at a fever pitch. The bat insignia was everywhere. Batmania was in full swing. Kids were shaving it into the back of their heads. Adults who affectionately remember the Adam West Batman were rocketed straight back to childhood seeing the icon on the big screen.
Apes and action figures already on sale. Maybe it doesn't really matter whether the Batman movie's any good. But folks lined up in LA to be among the first to compare the 60s TV series with the late 80s extravaganza.
But this wasn't the Biff Pow dancing Batman that they remember. This Batman took a note from its source material, making a dark, brooding, tortured man in the cowl and dropping him in a Gotham City, beautifully described by production designer Anton Furst as, "It's like hell had burst through the pavement and kept on growing."
Gotham City always brings a smile to my face.
In this universe there were no superpowered beings, no men who fly through the sky or gods moulded from clay. Only organised crime with a man who laughs, and one man trying to stop what had happened to his parents from happening to anybody else. This Batman is the definition of a hero.
Who doesn't get those wonderful toys?
The last well-known piece of Batman media is the critically acclaimed Batman, the animated series. Created by Bruce Timm and Eric Radomski, it aired on Fox Kids from 1992 to 1995.
Watch the animated series Batman tomorrow afternoon on Fox.
Apart from being a daring detour to what was expected from children's animation at the time, being praised for its much darker tone, artistic quality, and film noir aesthetics, it added invaluable elements to the Batman mythology.
Eric Radomski's innovation was knowing how dark the show was going to be, how we wanted to have that rich film noir kind of look. He was just messing around one day at his desk, and he had a big piece of black board, and he said, wow, instead of like painting the black areas in, and, you know, with the color, why don't I start with a black piece of paper and airbrush the color onto the black board? And I was like, wow, seriously? That's going to look like a Velvet Elvis painting or something. But so I was really skeptical about it. But then he showed me a bunch of samples that he did, and I was like, wow, that actually, it had like a weird vibrant kind of, but still muted and spooky looking texture. So it was like, okay, well, let's give that a shot. And nobody had ever done that before.
The show brilliantly revamped characters' origin stories, like Clayface, with Feet of Clay, and most notably, Mr. Freeze, with the award-winning episode, Heart of Ice. That episode alone showcases the diverse scope of who the Batman character is. He isn't just a hero trying to save the innocent because it's the right thing to do, or have the responsibility thrust upon him. He's trying to save the villain from themselves.
I saw what happened to your wife. I'm sorry.
I'm beyond emotions. They've been frozen dead in me.
Not only did Batman the Animated Series set the standard at Warner Brothers for animation, it kickstarted the DC Comics animated universe and helped elevate Batman to the pantheon of superhero.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman!
For the most part, superhero characters are designed to fit neatly into a classification. Superhero? Well, emphasis on super. Heroes? They live by a strict code, and anti-heroes generally break that code. Vigilantes tend to fall under all three, but Batman, for me, he's evolved past just any one classification. He's become a symbol. Batman, more so than his contemporaries, represents the best of the human race and what we're capable of becoming. We can't aspire to be a lone survivor of a doomed alien planet and rocketed to another that gives us godlike powers. Nor can we develop superhuman strength and senses after being bitten by a radioactive spider, never mind survive. Batman represents the potential of what the human spirit, mind and body can be pushed to. He's the one man who can stand shoulder to shoulder with gods, fight alien conquerors and evil doppelgangers from a parallel world, and then come back to Gotham to try to save his rogues that are just as broken and are just as damaged as him. He's evolved through various forms of media, but with each new iteration he carries a piece of the former generation's image of the Dark Knight. To some people he'll just be a fictional character that lets them escape the mundanity of life. To others, he's just as real as the pages he's printed on, and to some, he's even a personal saviour. He transcends the fictional world by implanting into our hearts, our minds, and even shaping the decisions we make in the real world. He's a moral compass in an immoral world. He exists in all of us, a standard for us to reach to, a guiding light in dark nights. He's the bar to which all other heroes are measured. Batman isn't just a hero or a superhero, an anti-hero or a vigilante. He's all of those things and more. He's a new class of hero, and I'll let him tell you why.
Know that wherever evil lurks, in all its myriad forms, I'll be there with the hammers of justice to fight for decency and defend the innocent. Good night.